Okay. Good evening. Let's open the Hideaway Hills Club Board of Trustees meeting of February 19, 2019. Everyone who's expected to be here is in attendance, and we have 3 people who are excused, 2 trustees and 1 emeritus. And so I would like to call the meeting to order. And can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Scott moves. Can I have a second? Linda seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. President's report. I had a request from the management committee to speak about sort of the issues of driving speed and being very careful here in the hills at this time. We've had a number of reports of people who are going too fast, driving fairly dangerously, passing people. We've had at least 3 different interactions with the gate that didn't go well for either the gate or the vehicles. And so those are, a couple cases where people were trying to make it through the gate before it closed, and that seldom, it does work well sometimes, but it also can work badly. So the one thing I would like to implore everybody is to you're not going to go fast in Hideaway Hills. You're not going to get anywhere fast in Hideaway Hills. And so, unless you go down the middle of the lake, I guess. But so please be careful. The ditches are deep at this time of year. We've had a fair amount of erosion. If you go off the side, you could bust an axle or a tire quite easily. So please be careful. Think of your fellow neighbors. It's school buses, and when the kids are getting in and off the buses, again, be extremely extra special careful there. Other than that, we continue to work on a few things in terms of the gates and the like. I don't know if Jim wants to talk about that later, but we'll continue to work on that. But that's certainly, I think, a real target area for us over the next couple months is to try to make it through the rest of the winter. Randy, thanks again to maintenance for keeping the roads in good shape. It's all the bad days with ice and everything else, and they've done a great job. How many nights have we had, or days of overtime have we had now?
Oh my, it's probably been 5 or 6 at least.
Yeah.
They're coming in tonight.
Are they?
Yeah.
Tomorrow. All right. Well, anyway, again, please extend our gratitude to them. I've not heard any complaints, and I've heard a lot of compliments for the good job.
Great, thanks.
Yep. On that note, concludes my president's report. Mr. Lapp, do we have any correspondence this evening?
Before I get into correspondence, I think we need to enter for the record that we started at 7:06.
Okay.
And the people not here are Dave Miller and Tom Matthews and Jim Lloyd.
That's
just
right.
so okay. And as far as correspondence, no.
We have no correspondence. All right. We do have the minutes. You've all seen the minutes. Any questions about the minutes? Any comments about the minutes? Mr. Lapp, we have a motion to approve the minutes as listed.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as listed.
Anybody? Second, Dwayne Mickey. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Given that our treasurer is not here, I've asked Greg Patassin to make the treasurer's report tonight for us.
Regarding the committee funds, there is $132,778 in the bank committee funds. The biggest chunk of that is the Fund Food Fellowship, which is $53,000 of that on the deck fund. And, so that is the end of this treasurer's report. I would ask that we have a motion to, you all got it, I sent email, so I ask for a motion to approve that treasurer's report.
Greg makes a motion in a second. Dennis is seconding. Any further questions, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Jim is going to talk about the financials and get into some detail, but I think that as from the treasurer standpoint, we ended up the year with the adjusted reports well ahead of budget and last year, and that's good. Very good. Wasn't a great year, but the great thing is that it was ahead of budget and the budget was tight. And that is probably the most positive thing we've seen. We're again on a tight budget this year, and if you look at the January operating analysis, that's a little bit overstated because I talked to Jim Sigalus this afternoon. Jim, you may have had time to do the same. Jim had thought there were 3 payrolls in January. I think there were last year because of that overlap and there were only 2, and so there's about a $36,000 savings that's not there. But we're still ahead of budget, and that's for January, so we're in good shape. I'll let the rest to Mr. Kirk.
Sounds like a segue. Mr. Kirk, you start the management report.
Good evening. First, let's talk about food services. The kitchen shut down, kind of as a final about that. Maintenance staff did a great job with paneling and shelving and all the stuff that they had to do while the kitchen was down. Kitchen staff did a very, very good job of deep cleaning everything. In fact, to the point that right after they opened back up, the state showed back up to check. If you remember right from the last inspection, one of the things still hanging out there, but they were giving us time to fix, was that the paneling in the pizza room and the shelves that had to be replaced, the old wood paneling. That inspection found absolutely 0 criticals, nothing. One not critical. The coping isn't done around the floor, between the floor and the paneling in that pizza room, and that's all we have to address on that. So the guys, both staffs, everybody working together did a great job getting the kitchen all cleaned up. Did a great job with the, I know most of you or all of you have been upstairs and seen the dance floor. It looks very good. What else? January numbers for the lodge reflected the longer than normal shutdown. If you look at the front page that just has the all accounts in the lodge and the clubhouse, you'll notice that income for the lodge was down over $8,000. Well, they were closed almost a week more this year than they were the year before to get everything done. And at the same time, fortunately, they controlled their expenses and their payroll and kept it down to quite a bit less than last year. So the loss in the lodge was $12,000 less than last year. The clubhouse had increased sales of about $2,200 with a little bit of a corresponding increase in expenses, which goes along with selling stuff. And they still had a reduction in loss. They lost a little bit of money, but less than the year before. Moving on to staffing, we lost a guard 4 weeks ago, something like that, and we already have his replacement. I think he starts next week. And we had looked at possibly adding another full-time and cutting back on the 2 part-timers. So it wouldn't have been an increase in payroll, but that decision, we kind of backed off of that because the 2 part-timers kind of like the hours they're getting, and we don't have near as much in benefits with part-time as we would with full-time. So Randall is very happy, says he's with this new guy starting, he's fully staffed, so we're happy with that. And most of you, if not all of you, have met Christina, the new admin in the office. She's been here 4 weeks now and seems to be doing very well, fitting in. Mm-hmm. The golf course mower, the one that I think you all approved by E-Blast, is being delivered this week if it hasn't already.
It's probably going to be the end of the week or the first next.
Okay.
Well, they need it this week, don't they?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. As I was writing this, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm talking about a golf course mower in the middle of February.
Hey, I'm glad we're getting
Be eternal optimist, okay?
You need something in the middle of the summer. No snow.
That's well, maybe we can fit it with a blower on the front or something, I don't know. To your comment about the back gates, the RFID system, which is what we're looking at, we have 2 quotes from 2 vendors, and we've got 2 other vendors at least that we think we're waiting on quotes. We're not sure what they think, because the responses aren't, they kind of disappear and come back, and one was supposed to meet with us last Thursday and didn't show up, and but we are still working on that, and we're moving forward. We'd like to have a third quote. If we can't get one, then we'll sit down with the two that we've got and start working out, figuring what we're gonna do. Last.
Just a ballpark on that.
I think the lowest was 56,000.
That's right, 60 a year right now.
Yeah.
Is that what you expected?
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's a little more than we looked at it closely like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was, then it was like in the 40 range, so it's not really unexpected. We didn't know what it would be. And we're doing a little more this time than we were doing then, so I think it's.
Well, at least one, I think both of the vendors have, after conversations with Randy and I sat in on, have come up with some ways to try to save us some money. So, you know, we lay out all the problems, or perceived problems in some cases probably, and they come back and say, okay, you really don't need to spend money to fix this, we can do this, and, you know, so both of them seem to want to work with us. Of course, they want that. That's a pretty good sized project, so they probably want that too. The last thing I had written down, you brought it up, speeding in the hills. It's really bad right now because there's a lot of the sand and gravel on the hills, and if you're flying down that hill, even today when they weren't wet, they're not icy, they don't have snow on them, you hit your brakes and that gravel and sand almost acts like you're on ice. And there's no speed bumps out. So people take advantage of that situation at the moment. They're flying around. We are open for other ideas on ways to try to get the speed down. Obviously the speed bumps and speed humps go back in April, sometime in April, and that helps a little. But it just keeps getting worse.
Well, bigger chunks of cinder.
There you go. I'm all right with that.
We can use the ones that are down in front of the post office.
Well, you know, Mr. Sigafus handled the management committee meeting for me last Tuesday, and this was brought up, and he looked at the guys around the table and said, come back next week with some ideas, some fixes, you know. And so you know, if you guys know of something, an idea, throw it at us. I mean, we're looking at maybe getting an inexpensive radar gun and, you know, doing the presence kind of thing like the state troopers do, have somebody sit.
We had radar guns at one time, I don't know
We
whatever
still have them,
happened.
we still have them on sending them.
They have to be pretty old, that was a
They are.
I was
while
gonna
back.
say, I moved here in '09 and they were.
It might have been 15, 20 years ago we had radar.
Oh, that's the way you have
We don't
them
want to get radar guns out, we'll have people telling us how it's illegal for us to use radar.
Well, we'd have to get them calibrated and fixed, but,
Problem is, we're not allowed to stop people, I believe was the
Correct.
thing we had last time
Correct.
when we had the radar guns. You could check people's speed, but you weren't allowed to stop them and say, hey, you're speeding.
yeah, we're not authorized to stop somebody and give them a ticket. We are authorized to write up based on, you know, observation.
Sure.
Writing up an incident report and sending them a, you know, do bad letter and.
Public shaming we can use too.
And, well, we could do that, you know.
Get some stocks in front of the post.
Yeah, we could.
I'm just gonna ask you guys going
All right,
forward,
well,
we're gonna be, you know, just like they do
Okay,
DUI.
I brought this up looking for good ideas, not for,
I don't know, that's not a bad one.
You know, you gotta send out some bad ones to get.
I understand. So if
You have
anybody.
traffic court. You could
I'm not gonna do
Radar.
that.
I don't wanna do that. But
The
then,
meeting lasts long enough. Article 9 for speeding.
let me wrap this up. Offline, if any of you have any ideas, come to me after the meeting or whatever before next Tuesday, because management's gonna tackle that, subject again. And that's pretty much.
I'd love to be the judge.
Got a vote? Yeah.
Really not. Just kidding.
Would it be like Judge Walkner or what?
It'd be Judge Linda Lee.
There we go. There you go. All
It'd
right.
be very
One question, is the food service report, the inspector's report, of such a shape that we could publish it in the Echo?
It looks.
There's really no reason why we couldn't.
I mean, there was a lot of consternation with the last one that we had problems with.
I totally agree.
And I just thought, you know, I mean, you can say it and I can say it, if we actually publish it, then there's.
I think that's a good idea. I don't see a downside to it.
I know, that's what I was, when you were talking, it just made me think that.
Yeah. We'll
We'll talk, Ginger's upstairs right now.
I know. I've got a clean copy of it, so
Okay.
I'll get it.
Well, I can send it to her electronically,
There you go.
and then maybe she can expand it a little bit,
Yeah, to the full-size page in the Echo, so that somebody could actually read it.
read it, yeah.
Okay.
What I'll do is mention it in my president's report, and people direct people's attention to look at it, so,
Excellent.
good deal.
Anything else?
I got a question, and I'm not sure if it's for you or Randy, but, so I've been traveling down to Teos a lot lately, and going past the Bremen Hill Gate. And I know we've had problems with that gate because of
Board
it.
Hill Gate.
Board Hill.
Yes, that's okay, that's all right.
Yes, the Boar Hill Gate. Big, very, very steep road getting to the gate. I know we've kept it open at times. One of the things I've noticed as I'm coming down that hill and I can see the gate off to the right, is that there's a nice flat temporary road, it looks like, with a farm gate that goes out to right about where the other gate would come out. And I'm wondering if that's something that maybe we move our gate.
On top of the hill,
Yeah.
that's members' property.
Oh,
It's a township road.
So that's members' property up there. That is not in the hills.
Yeah, that property, you know the owner of the property.
I do.
Yes, the part of their property is in the hills, that part is not.
Right.
You should tell me another time what it is.
Rather than broadcasting.
Okay, all right, well, okay, I just, it's something I saw, I'm like, is that something we forgot about, we could have used,
Yeah.
but it certainly would have been a better, I mean, if it ever becomes available.
We did go a couple years ago and talk to my favorite township trustee. This was before it all developed, and talked about whether they would allow us to, if there was a way to abandon or to give us the ability to service and work on the township
Yeah.
road on the other side. And the person who went and spoke to him, he was very charming and engaging in it, and then he immediately went back to everybody else and said, those guys from Highway Hills are trying to steal the road from us now. So it was sort of, which was par for the course for
I have a good friend that's the trustee in that township now.
I think it's changed now.
Yeah, he's not there anymore.
Oh,
The
yeah, I
guy
know
that
that,
dumped the
yeah.
dirt is not
Yeah,
there
yeah,
anymore.
Mr. Van Horn is no longer.
Chad Ashfall is on there now.
Okay,
He's
yeah,
done a
okay.
lot of work here, he's done work for us.
He did all the hauling in
Right.
54, for all the dredging to Area 54.
He
That was
replaced
Chad.
Carter, one of the brothers. You know?
What's that?
Well, with that said, is it worth addressing it again, or is it
I think
still?
it's possible, yeah.
It just,
I mean, I think the member, I mean, not to speak for him, but I think we could have a conversation with him and see what it works. There might be something that works for all of us, so I think it's worth a try, because you're right, that's, when it's crappy, you don't want to come down that hill.
Well, it's not only that, it's going up it, and
Sure.
having to wait on the gate to open.
Yeah.
We had that
That's an
problem
issue.
the other day pulling a trailer up that hill.
Absolutely.
okay, well, I just thought I'd bring it, I didn't, so.
Yeah, it used to be we would leave it open, and then we had a spate of sort of break-ins that happened to be people inside the hills. So opening and closing the gate really didn't matter, but there was a lot of concern at that point. So that's when we started keeping it closed, and then the idea being to tell people informationally that when it's bad weather, just don't go that way, come in the front gate. But now we've had a couple this year.
Well, we've also, the procedure now is if the roads are bad, security and maintenance will open that gate until such time as maintenance, and that's the first place maintenance goes with the first plow truck when they, at 3 or 4 in the morning when they come in and start hitting the roads, is they hit that hill. And as soon as they get enough cinders and stuff on it to where they're confident that it's not a safety issue, then they re-enable the gate so that that doesn't stop people from going too fast and hitting the gate though.
Agreed. Okay. You okay?
I'm good.
Any other questions of Jim? Thank you very much. Mr. Swetnam.
Thank you, Mr. President. You guys just stole two of my topics here that I was gonna talk about. But anyway, I wanted to go over the delinquency totals. As of January, the regular assessments were at $25,080. As of February, they're up a little bit, $26,225. This is really not bad considering several years ago they were $145,000. So it's been a few years ago, but we've been able to keep them, with the help of the delinquency panel, been able to keep them down where they're reasonably manageable. Roads for January was 2405, for February 2045. Dam assessment total as of today is $379,787. Well, I'll cross this off. Boar Hill Gate issue and procedures, since that was already discussed. Trying to do more to cut down on speeding, radar guns, that was already discussed. We are looking at purchasing our own road broom instead of renting one. We rented one last year to go in front of our chip and seal program. And as of today, that was approved. We are going to purchase a road broom for our new LS tractor that we've got. So we've already put that in place. And then we are also looking at a new security company. We haven't gotten good service out of the company that we've had for years here recently. So I'm in the process of interviewing new security companies. Starting Thursday, I think I have an interview with another security company. And unfortunately, that's all I have.
Regarding the broom, will you start brooming? In the past, we only did it around chip and seal time. Will you be doing it now with all the material?
Yeah, when we're sure the bad weather's over with, hopefully bad over with, we'll start brooming.
Yeah, because if you follow, like I said earlier, if you follow behind somebody right now, it's...
Yeah, well, plus
You're driving
the
through a
issue
fog.
with traction.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting to see. That's been an up and down winter so far. The amount of rain has been just stunning. I don't know if anybody knows the lake is still only a couple inches now. It's come down this week.
We've been trying to get Eagle Claw down, we've been trying to get Arrowhead down, and once we get it down, it rains and it's right back up again.
Is that constantly draining?
Yeah,
You got the
yeah.
Eagle Claw.
Maybe. Maybe.
I guess I don't want to sign
I
in.
guess.
And that's all I have, sir.
All right, anybody else have any questions of Randy? All right, time for moving on to committee business and reports. Dwayne, you got anything tonight?
We do not. We're back open after last month because of the weather.
Oh.
So there's been a couple down there. That's about it.
I don't know, did you want me to read your report, or you want to read your own report, or did you just send that for my information that you sent me? It wasn't, we weren't asking for funds for the garden committee, but
No.
you did send me a report.
Right, but I think I got emailed to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody saw it. It's just, I thought it was a good format. I actually stole it from Activities for Youth.
So I don't have anything.
Great.
Nothing from ORG. Just a reminder from the Lakes Committee for April 27th, launch date in the morning. I'm thinking it's probably about 7-ish, but I'll check with the chairperson, Susan. But we'll be in early March.
I have two. I've got a request from Activities for Youth for up to $400 for cookies and canvas party, where they're bringing in the ladies that run the Two Broke Artists in Lancaster, and they're going to do some paintings with the kids. And that's the first part of it. I'll make a motion that we approve up to $400 from the Activities for Youth funds for the cookies and canvas party.
Second by Dennis. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then I'd like to get an approval for the date of that, that's March 10th at 2 PM in the great room. I make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Dennis again. Any questions at all? All in favor? Any opposed? No. All passes unanimously.
Now, I have a fund request from Adopt an Area, very important one. But there's the chair has resigned. So I don't, the treasury's not here, so I'm not sure who's gonna get this. And it's for $44.81 payable to Greg the Task for Christmas lights.
Guess you don't get it.
I bought them in December and I was waiting and waiting to make the So, but I'm gonna, well, I'll still make the motion to pay.
Go, Linda.
Greg.
Let her make the motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
I move that the gentleman by the name of Greg Patassin being reimbursed in the amount of $44.81 for the purchase of Christmas lights back in December and actually January 1st of 2019.
I second.
And Scott seconds. Any questions of Linda?
I'd just like to point out, I think she would make a good judge.
I think so.
Make me slow down.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? No.
Merry Christmas, Greg.
Hey, those were lights for the front.
I'll do a little bit. Sure. I'll do a little bit on the deck. We did get a bid in from Eigel to put the foundations in, which is way out of our budget. So, and I don't think it's actually talking with them. It's just not realistic to go with them for that. So we're back into finishing up, getting the plans signed. Two different groups are looking at it, so we should be able to get them done. So then we'll have a structural engineer signing off on it being in. So then we're going to go to work with. We've got 3 different companies that are interested in bidding, so we'll start meeting with them just as soon as we have that finished up.
Are those local companies, Jim?
One is local, the builders, yes,
Yeah.
yes, they are, yep. One's from Lancaster, where was the other one? I forgot what you said.
I'm not sure exactly where it's from.
He's
From this area. but
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure,
where.
it was like Hocking County Builders or something like that. And so,
So Eigel was gonna do the footers, right?
right.
So now what are we gonna
We're
do?
gonna have to, we're gonna either have to, I know one of the builders that I've talked to is gonna work with another local vendor to put the footers in.
Okay, so you have 3 vendors now
Right.
that are putting in bids.
Yes, they've all seen the plans. The
Okay,
earlier plans, they've not seen the final stamped ones yet. And then it'll depend upon what the costs are, frankly. The bid from Eigel for just the footers was $54,000.
okay.
And we just didn't think that was, we looked at that and we talked to a couple of people and that was just out of bounds for both what we thought the amount of work was and what the project is.
So do you think that by this time at the next meeting, we're gonna have a vendor selected?
I'm gonna try to get one, yes.
I had a chance to look over some of the drawings and everything. Have you given any consideration to scaling back the project?
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge.
It is.
It's huge. I think it's too big. I think it's too big for what we have here. I think it's too big for what we lose money in this place, as people say, with the amount of people that come here.
Yeah.
It seems, I mean, it'd be great if this place was just bustling all the time, but.
Right. Now, we're really looking at just building the upper level, not going into the lower levels at this time, just in terms of the cost of it, because that would be very straightforward.
And there's still no idea of putting a door through from the bar area to the.
Well, there was a lot of discussion about that, Scott, but the problem was that you'd have to lose seats in the bar to do that.
Only when we were using seats outside.
No,
Now,
you can't.
if you got an exit sign there, you have to leave.
Do we have to have an exit sign there? I thought originally we were only gonna make an emergency exit. The drawings that me and Eric submitted.
Right.
Only had an emergency exit off the deck itself. So do we have to have an exit sign? Does that have to be an exit? There's no exit there now. You know what I mean? There's no,
Are you talking in the lodge or? are you
from the
talking out-
bar to the deck. Do we have to designate that as an exit and put an exit sign
If
in?
you put a door in there and you let people go in and out, yes. The
Okay.
fire marshal will require you, in a commercial
Well, it
establishment.
just seems to me, but looking at the drawings, if you're sitting out on that deck in order to be serviced by people from the bar, which I assume that, you know, you're gonna have a lot of bar traffic, people are gonna have to go in the bar, out of the bar, into the
Yeah,
restaurant, all the way around. That one table is gonna, you're gonna run people off.
Yes, that
A
was what
walk-up
we were
window?
looking, was using a walk-up window at the end of the bar.
You know, for what they have there, they almost need another bar out there to service the size of that deck is if you had it anywhere close to capacity. I mean, it's bigger than what we have for seating in the restaurant and bar as it is. Or real close
It's
to it.
not that big, but in the bars.
I mean, if you count the deck that we already have.
Right, right.
So what's the goal then, as far as when we're gonna have this deck up and going?
Trying to get it this spring yet, yes.
Well, Jim, I understand that, but we've been having this conversation for 2 years, right? And I think we need, it's been 2 years.
Well, 2 years
It
since.
it was 2 years ago that I put forth those plans in February
Okay.
to go into to build the original deck. And now, here we are, February 2 years later, and we still can't come up with a concrete time as to when we need to have a goal as to when we're going to,
I agree.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think
That's
that by this meeting next week, or I'm sorry, next month, we need to have a concrete plan going forward, whether it's a pullback and we go back to the original plan, or I think that's only fair to all the members that have.
Sure. Well, we haven't
So
spent
they
any,
had a lot of money.
we've not spent any money at this point.
I get that,
Okay.
but I also am out there and I have people come up to me, what the heck's going on with the deck, Eric?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm in the same meetings you are, so I just think that's something we need to start.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Going forward.
Yes, I hear you loud and clear. I hear you loud and clear. But yes, Scott, we have to look at scaling it back. I think you're right. It's just because of the cost as we've gotten into it. And there were a couple other decisions that we made early on that we may have to look at too, which was the whole composite, you know, because that's much more expensive, as you know, to do that for decking. I mean, to get this into the profile window we have. But I will be happy to work with you on it too. I'll keep you in the loop.
Okay.
I don't have any requests or anything further than that.
I have no requests.
No, long-range planning hasn't met, so no requests there.
Okay. We will need, and Greg and I have talked about it, we will need to be looking for a new chair for the adopted area program as well. Because
Do you
it's,
want something put in the echo to that effect?
yeah, probably a good idea. Yeah.
When's the deadline, this Friday?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. All right, no more fund requests? Let's move to open forum. Do we have anybody to speak to?
We're good.
You're good?
You guys gotta have some complaints.
Really?
Well, we're doing that good of a job.
You sure you want her to
All right, hoping to get this thing done as quickly as possible. Let's move on then to unfinished business topics. You have in front of you the rule revision for remote control aircraft rules, which remember we had a discussion last week and we were concerned about a few items about flying over and restricting area to where people could fly over on the airport. And so we asked the Constitution Committee to redraft the rule to deal with those particular. Would you like to speak to that?
Well, we did what Dwayne had asked for, that, and everybody agreed to that. We included the fact that you cannot be flying a remote control aircraft when there is a sanctioned trap shoot or ORV event. And the reason why, it has to be a particular event, not when somebody's using the track or shooting. It's when there's a big event, because there's a lot of people, and these things occasionally can fall out of the sky. But the concept is if somebody goes and wants to use the range for trap shooting, and somebody's already flying their drone, the drone was there first, or the aircraft, but they're there first, and you guys have to work it out. It's a first come, first serve, if it's not a sanctioned event. Basically what she says in this.
Seems pretty clear.
Well, does it have to be? I mean, can't they shoot and fly a plane at the same time if it's just a few people?
It's, if you want to be flying your plane when they're shooting trap that way, go ahead. But
Chalks, yeah.
Jim Lloyd, who knows these things very well and sat in, basically said that he thinks somebody's going to pull their aircraft down quite quickly if they see people shooting trap coming at them.
Because the trap comes, when you're shooting against. You know.
Yeah, again, I guess it's who gets, if somebody's flying their plane and somebody says, I want to go and shoot some trap. It's just gonna be, you gotta work it out there.
Yeah, but we gotta be sure that people want to fly the planes there too.
Agreed. I agree. That's what I want to be fair.
Now, I have a question. What happens if someone does fly their drone in the confines of Highway Hills? Is there some?
I think we would handle it the way Randy handles regular, most small fine situations where the first time there'd be a warning, the second time there'd be a probably $50 fine. After that, the fine would go up.
So you treat it like a rules violation.
Sure, that's going in the rules. A rules violation, that's what it would be.
Right.
But nothing specific, no. And we cannot step, now this, in effect, prohibits people from outside the hills flying their drones in here. Because Jim knows with the FAA rules and all that, we're good. But how do you find them? How do you catch them? How do you know who it is? I mean, that's, you gotta be real. And the last thing, Jim agreed to give Randy some guidelines, because we say that without the general manager's permission, he's gonna give Randy guidelines regarding how to give permission, what has to be concerned about height, mainly that they're gonna be flying, and the fact you cannot fly over people. I mean, because the other side of it is that people like the pictures when they had the event down at the north end of the lake. People like to see those pictures. Well, the drone can get up high enough with the cameras now and still take the pictures and not be over the people. That'll be, Randy, Jim will give those to you. So as for coming from Constitution, I'd make the motion that we adopt as proposed.
I second.
Second from Linda. Any further conversation at all?
Should it be read in before we vote on it, or?
I can read it. Sure, that sounds like a good idea. The proposed rule that we're going to be voting on says, flying any remote control aircraft, including but not limited to drones, helicopters, and fixed wing airplanes within the boundaries of Hideaway Hills, including above the Farmette buildings, is prohibited without written permission from the general manager. However, remote control aircraft may be flown without permission from the general manager from the designated area at the airport approved for the operation of such aircraft and can be flown only on the airport side of Hideaway Hills Road. Remote control operators must yield to any full-scale aircraft utilizing the landing strip or taxiway. Remote control operators must also yield to any organized event sponsored by the Range Committee and or the ORV Track Committee. Any further questions?
I have a comment.
Sure.
After that reading, PJ's gonna wanna talk to you about reading one of her shows.
I staged right now. All right.
As long as you put a microphone on, maybe all right.
We had to get them a lot there.
That's well deserved. All right. That being said, without any further discussion, all in favor of the proposed remote control aircraft rule, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you.
The other thing,
Pardon? Yes.
the other thing that Constitution talked about, and there are 4 of us talking about this, and 4 out of the idea of the notice requirements, where you need 60-day notice to have a meeting or a special meeting, and a 90-day notice for the board to approve anything to be voted on at a meeting or special meeting. And there was some concern that, 60 days, 90 days, why aren't they the same? Why is it confusing? It is confusing. We voted 4-0 not to change it. That's our recommendation. And the reason being, the reason why you want the 90 days is that gives you, let's say a member wants to introduce a rule, a code change, and they should be allowed to do it. They don't all have to come from the board. The board has then 30 days to make a decision whether they're going to put it on the next ballot. You know, typically you typically call the annual meeting. And we know the dates when we've got to get the notices out. Because if the way the rules are written, if we don't put it on the ballot, members got to wait till the next either annual meeting or until we call a special meeting. So in fairness to the member, that's why that was put in, and it was put in several years ago, when some members wanted to get things on the ballot and couldn't do it because the board said, well, we got the ballot out, we had to give the members the notice. Because the rule says that you've got to tell the member when the meeting's happening and what is on the agenda. So that's the reason for the difference. But that's our recommendation. The board can do what the board feels is proper.
Any discussion? Any further questions?
Perfectly happy with what the committee decided.
Yeah, I guess when we talked about it last time, it was one of those issues is, it didn't seem to be a real problem. It hadn't been a real problem at this point. It's always good to look at things and think about them and see them, but I don't have any real great desire to change the rule myself. Anybody else at all? And we're just in discussion. We don't even have a motion at this point because it is an existing rule. So I think fine and dandy. Don't need to take a vote or anything. All right. Thank you. Moving along. Next step is reaffirming the e-votes. Everybody has the sheets in front of them. We have 4 8-0s and 2 7s. This is great. We're down to only 6 e-votes this month. What a deal for you. Starting off with the 8-0s. The first one, 1/17/2019, an e-vote to approve the attached golf schedule. That was an 8-0. Also, an e-vote for the approval for to buy the Jacobson Fairway mower for the total of $55,913.52. And then an e-vote to approve Saturday, April 27th as the date for the Lakes Committee to launch pontoons, and an e-vote approval to pay $415 from Health and Wellness Committee funds to Trace's Sanitation, and that was for another dumpster. Those were all 8-0.
Make a motion to approve.
Eric makes a motion, Greg seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right. And we have 2 7-0s. The vote to approve $405 from Health and Welfare Funds payable to Trace Sanitation for another dumpster for demolition at the former Panacea office. And then an e-vote to approve $300 from Social Committee funds to the Pool Committee funds because of the help that they provided with the tour of homes. That was both 7-0. Can I have a motion to approve those?
Make the motion.
Dennis says yes. Can I have a second? Dwayne's on too. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Does anyone have any new business?
I think we probably should approve the resignation of the adopted area chair.
Okay, we can. That's sure we can do that. Roy Swood is to resign his position for adopted area, and we need to vote to accept his. And you're making the motion.
I'll make the motion.
I guess.
Second.
Second from Scott. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I've thanked Roy already. We'll do that again.
And he's going to stay on the committee. It's just health reasons when he gets his health back and it's coming back. He'll be there.
I will put him in. I'll put it in the president's notes as well. So, all righty.
I have a question.
Yes.
Has there been any thought given to replacing Dave Miller on the board since I don't think he's been at a meeting since I've been on the board?
I was there the last.
Well, he was at one, but I wasn't here that. I was on vacation that 1 month, but I didn't know if that was. I mean, I don't know if his business is going to keep him off the board. It seems kind of.
He said he had to be gone. I mean, yes, he sent a note to me saying he was going to be gone this one, but he would be back for the next ones. And this is the last year of his term.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you missed 3 straight meetings, and he hasn't done that yet, or 3 unexcused, he's always let us know. It's a good point, Scott. It really is. Again, given that he's served for, this is his 6th year, we're sort of getting to the end of it, but
Well, have you talked to him? Does he want to get, he doesn't seem to have
No.
interest in this.
No, he does have interest, it's just a matter of, being
Well,
gone.
he told me that he would step down if there was anybody to take his place, and not, it's just those exact words.
He didn't share that with me, so I don't,
Yeah.
okay, I mean, because he
And
apologized.
that was a while back.
Yeah.
That was, pretty much, back in the fall, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to have somebody who wanted to participate.
Sure.
Um,
Well, I
That's
will
what-
talk to him. I'll talk to him when he gets back, but he sent me a note before this meeting and said that he couldn't make it. He was gonna be out of town at a sales event, and then he'd be back, so, but I can share that with him.
be a good idea.
Yep. Find somebody that is one thing, that's a piece I need to bring up. I've got a couple people, I've already, for the nominating committee, because we'll need to approve a nominating committee for next year. There's, of course, 3 seats come open, but 2 of them are term limited. One is Dave and the other one is Greg. Dwayne, this is your 2019 that would be it. So we will need new candidates, and we need a nominating committee. I'm on it. I think you indicated you would be willing to do it, so anybody else?
No, I didn't.
You didn't? I thought you did.
No.
Okay.
But not that one.
Okay. Well, I'll need some other. Okay, sounds good. And we need a couple too. I've actually asked a couple people, I haven't gotten an answer back yet, who are not on the board, because I think at least two need to be all non-board members. Right? Correct. So we'll go from there. And so we'll need a slate. I don't know. Certainly the last couple of years we've had as many people up for nomination, at the election. But we'll see how that goes this year in terms of getting people.
No, so both Dave and I are term limited, but Dwayne, you can run for another term, am I correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And you will.
And you will.
I didn't ask him that on purpose.
Thanks, Scott.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
No correspondence.
Alrighty.
Old business.
Yes.
Back in December, there was an email chain that went around about giving the property with the house on it that Panacea gave us to ODNR.
Right.
There was discussion about spending $1,200 for a parking lot. What happened with that?
We didn't do that. It was never approved to give them any money, and it's still, nothing has happened with that property yet. It's still with ODNR. We told them we were interested in working with them, but we've gotten no paper back. But we indicated to them we would not be putting any money into it.
Okay, so we offered that to them and said, if you want it, you can have it, for Frank Panacea's wishes, I believe.
Yes. Well, what we said, yes.
Okay.
Which is that we did not, we indicated, you raised the issue that you didn't think was appropriate for us, it wasn't necessary for us to put any investment into it. We talked with ODNR, they said that's fine, they were comfortable with that as well. So at this point, it's still with ODNR. We've indicated to them that we're interested in seeing what they come back to us with. It's
Okay.
still ours.
Okay.
So there's been no action, I guess is what I'm saying.
And the state usually moves so quickly.
Yeah, right. Well, to be honest with you, with natural areas and preserves, that is an issue because they get a lot of people who want to donate stuff, and a lot of times they're distressed properties. And so the folks in the central office tend to go very slow on it in terms of accepting, and that's part of the issue. So it's still our property.
Okay.
We're essentially at the same place that we were, which is we told them that if they could come up with a plan, then we'll be interested in carrying out Frank's wishes. But we're not going to be putting any money into it.
Okay.
Would you characterize that property as distressed?
Well, the house gotta come down.
Yeah, but they're going to do that.
Yeah.
The house is severely distressed.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Well, plus part of it's on their property.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking more about remediation from, ecological issues and stuff. That's what a lot of people, they had a dump there, or they had some other issues, an old well, and they want to get rid of it because it's going to cost them money. So that's been one of the, and if it's not a very big, it's not a large piece of property, and it's not of interest to them, and they don't want them. This one, because it's contiguous to the swamp, they're much more interested in doing it. But yeah, no, we after our discussion, I'm sorry, we should have gotten back to you and followed up on that, but we just.
I know it as well.
Yeah.
I think there was a vote, but I just didn't hear what the final tally was. Okay.
Yeah. But we, again, we just sort of said, we're not gonna put anything into it and get back to us, so. So it's apparently in their law group that does donations.
Okay.
Their attorneys. Good question. New members.
Oh, new members, okay. I happen to have that right here.
Somebody get down my corner.
I would like to make a motion to approve the following new members to Hideaway Hills. Ballard and Bennett LLC, Thomas Ballard and Constant Bennett, lots 388 and 389. Scott D. and Tina M. Evans, lots 692, 693, and 694. David L. and Barbara J. Brown, lots 1581 and 1582. And Jenny King, lots 145 and 146.
A second.
Scott seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass.
Yes?
Do we have any idea how many of those will be permanent residents?
No. I don't have any idea. Sometimes you come down here and you become a permanent resident, and you don't tell me, we don't want to tell anybody, so that's what I did.
Sometimes they leave. 145 and 146, that was
Our first property here, so not yet.
Oh,
Yeah, that was our count. It's got a sale pending sign, obviously.
Yeah, that's closed.
It has closed?
It's closed, yeah.
Last Friday.
And that got, the Gundam's buying, Joe and Connie Hibbler's house.
Okay.
He's just, like you, he used that as a starter house.
That's right, it's transition.
Nobody wants to go across that bridge.
That's it.
No,
That's for young people.
That's true.
but we don't ask that until it goes, it's just, so.
Yeah, I just wondered.
All right, anything further for anybody? We do have, we don't have the, let you know, the Article 9, the people will not be making an appearance today, so we'll just have a discussion, we won't have to interview or talk to anybody tonight, so. If there's nothing else,
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Scott seconds, all in favor, say aye.
Aye,
Any
at
opposed?
7:57.
All right, but we do need a discussion on the two of the issues here.
How long you break?
Huh?
How long you break?
I'm ready to go as soon as whatever you do. But I need to.